And I'm a careers advisor based in Aberdeen, and tonight I'm also joined by my colleague Amber. We both work for Skills Development Scotland, which is the national skills agency, and we have careers advisors available in every state secondary school. We support pupils to develop their skills and knowledge needed for positive career planning, and we're also here to help you too, and we really encourage any questions that you've got tonight. Skills Development Scotland offer an all-age service, and we support partners such as primary schools by providing tools and resources to support career education. Just a few things before we get started. Firstly, as Donna said, the session is being recorded for anyone who couldn't make it along this evening, or if any of you would like to watch it back again. And just to let you know that we can't see or hear anyone, but if you would like to make any comments or ask questions, please use the Q&A box to the right of the screen. Or if you're using a mobile phone, then you just click the question mark right at the top in the tab at the top right. We will have time at the end of the presentation to answer your questions, which will all be sent in anonymously to us. This webinar really gives us the opportunity to explain meta skills and think about how you can support your child to develop them. We encourage your questions, and we want to start by explaining why we're so pleased to be speaking to you tonight. The answer to which is pretty simple. Research tells us that parents and carers are the biggest influencers in a young person's career decision making. This doesn't necessarily mean that your children will do what you think that they should or what you might expect them to do in the future, but that the conversations and experiences that you have together shape their thinking in a really positive way. It's also really good to be speaking with you whilst your child is at primary school, as research also tells us that primary school pupils can form early stereotypes and might be at risk of developing limited ideas about what they might want to do in the future. By talking about skills, supporting their skills development, and talking about how they relate to lots of opportunities, you can help to broaden your child's horizons, helping your young people understand that these opportunities are open to all. So from all of us, a genuine thank you for being on the call this evening. I'd like to start by showing you a video about how the changing world of work. Hopefully the sound will work, but if it doesn't work for you, don't worry, it is just music in the background, and the key messages are all displayed on the screen. So we'll start that now.
Hi everyone, I'm Amber. I hope you found the video interesting. The video shows us that the world of work is changing at a fast rate, and it's due to lots of different factors such as artificial intelligence, automation, big data, globalisation and political impacts. And unfortunately, things like the global pandemics really affected the world of work as well. The image that I have on screen just now, there was a time where you'd see that as a very futuristic image rather than representing real jobs now. And it's not just about what we are doing that's changing, how we do things are changing too. The changes highlighted can bring about lots of new opportunities and be a really exciting time for young people. We want them to be curious, inspired and prepared for the future, and having meta skills will equip them for whatever the future brings. Research from Skills Development Scotland and the Centre of Work-Based Learning in a paper called Skills 4.0, which was really looking at the world of work evolving and the fourth industrial revolution that we're currently in, highlighted that whilst we cannot predict the future, we can prepare for a future that is increasingly unpredictable. A focus on skills and human capital gives us a strong foundation from which to build a sustainable, inclusive Scottish economy. What we have on screen now is meta skills. You might have heard them called different things: core skills, essential skills, skills for life, etc. Meta skills are not a list of achievements to be ticked off, but a framework to guide young people in their understanding of their self-development. Whilst technical skills can change with time, meta skills are human skills to support people with any course and any career path. Meta skills are broad skills that are uniquely human. That means that they aren't things that artificial intelligence or computers can do. So it ensures that people with these skills are essential and irreplaceable. Developing your meta skills will help prepare for the future and make it easier to adapt to any changes. They're grouped by 3 areas. So on screen you can see self-management. That's all about managing the now, managing yourself and the information around you. Social intelligence, that's about connecting with the world around you, building and maintaining relationships. And innovation is all about creating our own change, being creative and problem solvers. I'm now going to pass you back to Amy, who'll talk a bit about skills in school.
Thanks, Amber. One of the questions that we got sent prior to this session was all about the role of schools in supporting children with their developing of skills, and to sort of encourage them to learn about their skills and how they're using them. So primary schools all over the city are looking to support pupils to develop their skills. On the screen there, we've got a few examples of how primary schools are bringing these things to life. One of these is a school based in Orkney, and the other two are both right here in Aberdeen. And you can see there they're using different tools such as Animal Me, which is all about learning about your personality and your different traits. We've got things there about their skills specifically and how these might tie into future opportunities. And really the focus is not on picking, having children pick career paths at a young age. It's about thinking about what they're good at and what they have to offer for different opportunities that will come their way in the future, whether they're at school or after school, and really starting to sort of gain the confidence to speak about themselves and learn what's so great about them and what they're good at. And this is being done all over town. It may not be as visible in some schools or others, but it's definitely on the agenda at all schools to support your children in developing their skills and learning how to speak about them. And you may all be wondering as well how you can support your children outside of school hours. So we've picked a few meta skills to look at in more detail and kind of explore how these are built outside of the school building as well. The first thing we're going to look at is focusing. And this skill is all about being able to concentrate on what's important. With the wealth of information and distractions that we all face, it's a really vital skill for being successful and at school and then further on in life as well. Focusing is all about sorting, so organising information into categories. It's about being able to pay attention and focus on the present and avoid distractions. And about filtering, so the skill of being able to tune out non-essential information. And I bet all of these are skills that you're using right now while watching this webinar. But what do they look like for a primary age pupil? Well, it could be by concentrating on the activity at hand and avoiding the distractions around them, whether it's other children, brothers or sisters, the TV, games they could play. It could be working carefully through the stages of a task and explaining the reasons for the choices that they're making. Or it could be suggesting changes to their surroundings to support their ability to focus on an activity. On screen, you can see a few examples of children displaying this skill outside of school. So it could be by completing puzzles, showing concentration while sorting cards, following instructions to build a Lego set, or carefully following the steps of a recipe. All of these things are done at home and they're all displaying children using their focusing skills. And the next skill we'd like to look at is collaborating. This is the skill that's all about being able to work with others. It's a skill that can't be automated, and again, it's so important in education and in work settings in the future. We even see lots of offices these days creating collaborative space purely to get people together to work together as well as they can. It's all about relationship building and team working, being able to work with others towards shared goals, being perceptive and understanding of other people's reactions, having an awareness of different cultures, and really thinking about how this could affect primary age pupils and what it might look like for them to be collaborative. It's working within a group, taking on different roles and tasks, listening to others in that group and valuing their opinions, being happy about working in a group and willing to help others with their learning, recognizing and respecting other people's feelings and their different ideas, and sharing and explaining their views and beginning to use the language to influence the way other people feel and think as well. On screen, we've got a few examples of children displaying their collaborative skills. So it could be by playing board games in teams, playing computer games together when they need to take on different roles to achieve a goal in the game, listening to team talks and respecting others' ideas, or even helping relatives to learn new skills, whether that's older members of the family or younger siblings, for example. All of these are collaborative, and I'm sure that all of you can think of a lot more examples for when you see your kids collaborate with each other as well. I'm going to hand you back over to Amber now to give us a few more examples.
So I'm going to look at the skill creativity, and this skill is all about being able to think for yourself, think of new ways of solving problems. Creativity can help people come up with fresh ideas, be able to express themselves and help create their own opportunities. It's all about imagination, exploring ideas, generating ideas and coming up with solutions and thoughts, visualising different ways of being able to express thoughts or information, and having an ability to explore and create. So how could this look as a skill in primary age pupils? Well, it could be by expressing themselves through different types of play, such as role play, making things, tinkering with objects, singing and dancing. It could be through experimenting with and investigating real life issues. You could be creating and designing solutions to a problem independently or as part of a group. And also asking questions about the wider world and learning from others' experiences. On screen now are examples of children displaying this skill out of school. So by doing things like creating and making things, being involved in role play, designing a map to help with a team treasure hunt, these are all examples of children being creative. What we've done was we picked skills from each of the three themes that I first described for meta skills. So but what I think is really important to highlight is all the pictures and the examples that we've given tonight. It's important to recognise that children are developing a range of meta skills when undertaking any task, chore, hobby or activity. So again, if we look about at creating things within some of the pictures here, you can see that there might be collaboration that's being used as well, communicating, etc. too. So a range of skills within each activity. So we've explored some skills in more detail and thought about how they could be developed out of school. But it's not just about giving children the opportunity to develop skills, but it's giving them the opportunity to reflect and discuss on how they're developing skills too. And these are some of our top tips to help you at home. Engage. We would encourage you to engage your children in activities to develop skills. Engage in discussions and conversations about what they've been doing in school and out of school. Be enthusiastic and encouraging when they're looking at skills development as well. Encourage them to review and reflect on the skills that they're using. Explore the career options together and link the skills that they're learning in activities within the home or in school to these career opportunities. And by exploring these opportunities together, you will help educate them about the world of work. I now want to highlight some resources that are available. And on screen now you can see some useful links to resources. We would encourage you to make use of these resources, as the more confident and comfortable you are with MetaSkills, the more opportunities you may find to support your child. So the first hyperlink that I have there is giving a bit more information about MetaSkills and the different groupings. The next one is about, for anyone on the call this evening that has a pupil in primary 7, thinking about that transition planning and supporting with P7 to S1 transition. And the last one, My World of Work, that's our careers website, and there's lots of really useful information on it. What we've highlighted there is the job profiles, and that allows you to explore different career options together, where you can find out a bit more about what's the day-to-day tasks involved in a job, what sort of entry requirements might be required, and what sort of skills are really useful for these jobs as well. As well as the resources, I think it's just important that we flag up a little bit of the support available from Skills Development Scotland. So as Amy referenced at the start of the presentation, we do support primary schools by providing resources, teacher resources that they can utilise for career education. And we also start seeing pupils from in secondary school, and that might be the end of P7 moving into S1 as part of a transition group work, and very much the career advisors in school will be even more involved in supporting young people during option choice time and as they progress in the senior phase as well. So we hope that that's been useful in finding out a bit more about meta skills and the importance of understanding how skills are developed in so many different ways, and about giving those opportunities to develop those skills but also review and reflect on them will be really key to helping your young person feel confident and excited about the future. So we're now going to move on to questions, and I'm actually just going to start by answering a question that came in prior to the webinar starting. Someone had asked, I would be interested to find out more about any clubs or events to help kids learn the meta skills required for the changing world of work. So schools and local community notices are a good place to start, as well as asking people in your community and linking with other families that you might know, friends, etc., and finding out what's available. But I hope that the examples in the presentation have also highlighted how skills are being developed in day-to-day activities too within the home. So, Amy, I don't know if you've seen any questions coming in.
Not so far, but there was another one that was asked prior to the webinar actually that we could answer as well, which was around what is a trending profession. So perhaps where are the jobs going to be? I suspect that means where are they now? Where might they be in the future? What are the growth industries in Aberdeen? And I hope that the video and the presentation highlighted a bit about how hard it is to predict the future labour market for pupils that are in primary school at the moment. There's been massive changes over the last 2 years. A lot of these changes are still happening, and some of the jobs that your children go into in the future might not exist right now, such as the change of pace. Which just really drives home the need to focus on skills, because that will mean that whatever the opportunities are, when your children eventually leave school or college or uni or whatever it is that or these exciting things that they go on and do when they're finished with their first stage of education, these are the skills that they're going to need to rely on to help them seize the opportunities that are there, recognise where they fit into it all, create opportunities for themselves even as well. We're seeing more and more young people talk about working for themselves now and taking back a bit of that control. So although there are growth industries in Aberdeen at the moment, they may be completely different in 10, 15 years time. They probably will be, depending on various things that we mentioned earlier and how they drive the labour force. So I would see, really, rather than sort of thinking, okay, where are the jobs at the moment, I would think focus on the skills that your children are building at the moment, so that whatever they're going out into, they're equipped to deal with it and they're sort of ready to seize the opportunities that are available to them. We've not had any more questions sent through. If anyone does have anything they'd like to ask us, we're more than happy to answer. Or if you think of something later, as Donna said at the beginning, stick it in the feedback when you send it in and we can get back to you if you give us your email address as well.
Another thing that you could put in the questions is examples of ways that you see your children developing skills, and that could be something we could share with the wider group as well. So if you don't have any questions but you have any bits of information that you'd want to share just now, that would be really, really useful as well. I think a big key thing is as much as change is happening, it's about encouraging our young people to feel really excited and up for it and resilient, able to manage it, and again having these skills that they know can be used, like Amy said, in a range of different settings and a range of different ways will really help as well. If we reflect back to the labour market 15 years ago, we wouldn't have thought about some of the app development opportunities, the different types of smart technology that we have at our fingertips now. We're definitely seeing, again, we talked about government policy can impact things. There's changes within the green economy and things as well. So a really exciting time as well, and lots of different opportunities available. I think, have we got a question in now? We've got something coming in there. How could school help a child if the child is interested in developing a career in a particular area? So basically, what sort of support could the school help with if a young person's interested in a career in a particular area? Well, I suppose a few things. They can support by helping them find out more about it and highlight again the skills that they're developing and how they relate. As we move into the senior secondary school as well, I think it's really important that we encourage young people's interests, but also that we want them to look at a wealth of opportunities and broaden their horizons. So when they think about a particular interest, it is quite useful to find out, where does that interest come from, what attracts you to that, and what other things may be of a similar interest or use similar skills as well, to really expand that thinking too. And it might be that they're on the right track and that it is a continuation to develop an awareness and understanding in that area, but it's really important to broaden their horizons as well. I've got Amy that will probably come in with some more information as well, but we do tend to find when we look at young people considering career ideas at the start within primary school, is we notice that initial thoughts tend to be what we call visual jobs. So that's jobs that you can see, that you've experienced. Lots of pupils tend to think about potentially being a primary teacher because they can see that job, it's in front of them and they understand what it is. And it's about understanding that there's lots of other opportunities out there that you might not be familiar with. Again, if we think about the health profession, perhaps a nurse or a doctor is something that people have more awareness of some of the other allied health professions, for example. So it's about expanding and encouraging that thinking and encouraging that skills development that will help with the area that they're interested in and other areas beyond. I don't know if there's anything else, Amy, that you'd want to say on that.
I was just going to add that this is where resources like My World of Work can be really helpful for that initial kind of research and learning about a career. The job profiles in particular tell you all about what that person does in a day, as well as the kind of key skills they might need, and can also direct you to similar careers like Amber's mentioned there, things that are kind of that they might not be so aware of children because it's not something they've come across yet in their lives. And it can be a really good way for them to start exploring their interests and thinking, actually, does that sound good? Would doing that every day actually appeal to me? And then as they go further through their education into the secondary stage, it starts to link it into the kind of qualifications they'll be gathering and next steps after school that they would need to take. But at primary stage, I would say focusing on the skills and the actual what the job involves would be a good place to start with the job profiles. If they want to learn more about career paths, resources like YouTube can be really useful as well. People post videos speaking about their jobs. There's a lot of them out there, so I would kind of lean into things like that as well. Or if there's careers days at school, maybe if you're in the PTA, or you can sort of help to organise things like that, encouraging volunteer parents who have a range of different jobs to come in and speak to pupils about their jobs as well and how they got there and what they do is a really good way for children to learn more about them. But I hope that gives you somewhere to start. Certainly My World of Work is a good first step to take, and also just encouraging them to learn as much as they can about it.
We've got another question in now as well, which is a really good question actually. Have you seen a difference in young people's resilience due to COVID? How do you suggest we help our young people to show the positive impact that COVID might have had around meta skills, i.e. adapting? And I think that that's a real key, is our young people have had to adapt more than ever expected of them. And we've all done things in different ways. So I think it is really important that sometimes what we perceive as a negative situation can have positive things coming out of it, and this is a really good example. So it's about saying experiences that you've had, tasks that you've been involved in have helped you develop skills. And what is that? We were joking actually when we were creating the webinar content today. Donna was saying that she quite often starts sessions by talking about how did people get here today, because we might have at one point all been in a room together, and we decided that wouldn't be the start that we'd have to this conversation, which is now on a webinar. But actually what you can unpick from that sort of conversation is, what skills did you develop and use in order to get yourself from one location to another? Well, we're still doing that. We're still very much doing it, but we're doing it within a different technology. So we're utilising different skills by managing the technological issues created sometimes by webinars. And we're quite grateful that we've got a slow trickle of questions in today, because one of our team that was to join us tonight has actually not been able to get in for technical reasons. So I think that that's a really valid question, a really valid point, and I think it is about highlighting to young people that you have done a really good job of doing things differently. And actually one of the pictures that we had was a young person showing a relative how to do a selfie. There'll be times where some of our young people are actually showing the teachers help with technology, etc. as well. So I think there's some really good examples of meta skills being developed in a really hard environment. Amy, do you want to come in there at all?
Yeah, I mean, I work with secondary young people, but young people every day pretty much in my role in school. And COVID has, I mean, you'll see this with all your children, it's had a massive impact on young people, but not always a negative impact. I think for some of them, if there's anything that they've picked up during the lockdowns when we were trapped at home that they started doing more of, look for things that they've enjoyed or skills that they might have built through that. Help them think about the different things they did. Did they have to play with siblings more often or collaborate with their siblings more often? Teach granny or granddad how to use Zoom, for example, you know, if you were trying to communicate over Zoom because you hadn't seen each other in months. Sort of really focusing on the skills that they built there, and also speaking to them about it and helping them realise that actually they've survived it, they've come through it. It was really challenging suddenly having to learn at home, but following instructions from a teacher online is completely different from being in a classroom, and all of them did adapt to that, probably in different ways and with varying levels of success, because that style of learning does not work for every child at all. But they've all kind of come through it, and just really encouraging them to speak about how they felt about it, or bouncing the question back to them sometimes, you know, how did you do that, or how do you felt that that went, how do you think you did it? And encourage them to think about the things that they might have done during lockdown that they might not normally have done, because we all kind of decided we're going to pick up new skills or activities to fill our time. So there'll have been a lot of that kind of thing going on, I think, for quite a long time over the last few years. So sort of casting their minds back and letting them think about the new skills that it might have given them the chance to develop. For example, I have a 4th year lad I've been working with who during lockdown rebuilt a car, which was something he'd never done before. And school hasn't been going very well, but he's developed this amazing skill set that is now kind of helping him get into an apprenticeship and stuff now that he's coming up to leave. So that was sort of making the most of that time, and him realizing that just because it hasn't taken place in school doesn't mean it's not totally valid and relevant for him now. And your children will all been doing, probably not building cars, but certainly doing, you know, interesting things in that time anyway, whatever it was that was helping them build skills. Not seeing any other questions coming through. If anyone else has anything they'd like to ask, please do send it over.
We're almost up, so can I just say thank you so much to Amy and Amber, who have come along tonight, and you've given us lots to think about, ladies. My takeaway from it is that learning starts at home, that you are the primary educator of your children, and those skills are in the everyday. And there's lots of things that we could be encouraging our children, just as Amy and Amber have said, these skills for the future are everyday things that we need to maybe be naming and saying you're collaborating, and put a language around what they're doing and noticing. But my takeaway is just to be enthusiastic, to keep encouraging that curiosity, and giving children the opportunity to explore and be curious in lots of different ways, particularly around the world of work.